You know, if you start looking around, you'll see them everywhere. These simple metal boxes, stuck to buildings, sitting in factories, perched on poles along the roadside. And they might seem kind of boring, but they're actually fighting a constant, silent battle against the world to keep our lights on. So today, we're going to decode their secret language.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, right? A towering skyscraper, a fiery steel mill, and a submarine getting worked on in a shipyard. What on earth could possibly connect all of these places?
Well, the answer is a shared secret code. It's a simple but absolutely critical numbering system that makes sure all the delicate electronics tucked away inside those boxes are safe from whatever their specific environment throws at them, whether that's a quiet office hallway or a dock getting blasted by sea spray.
And the group behind this whole system? That's NEMA, the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. You can think of them as the ones who wrote the playbook, the official set of standards that manufacturers have to follow to build enclosures that can handle everything from a little bit of dust to, explosive gases.
Okay, now before we go any further, this is the single most important rule you need to get burned into your brain. This is not a simple good, better, best kind of deal. A higher number is not always better. For instance, a Type 12 box is a champion inside a dusty factory, but you put that thing outside in a rainstorm, it's gonna fail, big time. Why? Because it's not designed to stop driving rain. It's all about having the right protection for the right job.
So, let's start where it's safest, indoors. Here, the biggest enemies are pretty tame. We're talking dust and the occasional drip.
Inside a building, the whole game is pretty straightforward. You've got two main goals. First, keep people from accidentally touching anything live, and second, protect the gear from the everyday dust, dirt, and minor moisture you'd find in a normal office or maybe a light industrial space.
And you can see right here how each indoor type solves a slightly different problem. So a Type 1, that's your most basic box. It keeps fingers out and stops a bit of dust. If you step up to a Type 2, you get some protection from condensation and drips, perfect for a laundry room. Then you get to the real industrial workhorses. Type 12 is built tough for factories with tons of dust and falling dirt, while Type 13 adds on protection from stuff like spraying water and machine coolants. See? Every number solves a different piece of the indoor puzzle.
All right, let's head outside. This is where the real fight begins. The battle against the elements gets a whole lot more serious out here.
Out here, it's a completely different ballgame. An enclosure has to be tough enough to handle everything Mother Nature can throw at it. We're talking rain, sleet, snow, and even the ice that can coat its surface. Protection isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a matter of survival for the equipment inside.
Now this is a perfect example of why you have to pay attention to the details. A Type 3 and a Type 3R enclosure both handle things like rain and snow just fine. But that little letter R is so important. It means the box is not designed to keep out wind-blown dust. It's a tiny detail for sure, but it can make all the difference in the world depending on where you put it.
And the letters don't stop there. If you see an S at the end, it means things like the handle will still work even if it's completely covered in ice. And the X? Well, that's the X factor. It means the enclosure is built with tougher materials, usually stainless steel, to fight off corrosion from stuff like salt spray on the coast or harsh industrial chemicals.
So we've dealt with what the sky can throw at us. But what about man-made water challenges? Like, say, getting blasted with a high-pressure hose during a factory cleanup.
Just let that number sink in for a second. 65 gallons per minute. That's basically the flow of a fire hose. And believe it or not, some of these enclosures are designed to take that kind of punishment and just shrug it off.
And that intense test is what it takes to earn a NEMA Type 4 rating. The box has to survive that 65-gallon-per-minute blast from just 10 feet away for 5 solid minutes without letting a drop of water inside. This is exactly why you find Type 4 and the corrosion-resistant 4X boxes in places like dairies, breweries, and on ship docks, anywhere that gets hosed down on the regular.
But what if you need to go even further? Like completely underwater? Well, that's where Type 6 comes in. It's designed for temporary submersion. But for places where a box might be underwater for a really long time, like in a quarry or a manhole, you need a Type 6P. That P is key. It stands for prolonged submersion.
So, we've covered dust, drips, all kinds of weather, and even being underwater. But there is one final environment we need to talk about. Places that aren't just harsh, they're actively hazardous.
This is the absolute ultimate test. We're talking about places filled with flammable gases, combustible dusts, or other stuff in the air that could literally explode. In these spots, the box isn't just protecting the electronics inside, its job is to stop the electronics from igniting the air outside. The stakes are incredibly high.
These are the heavy hitters, the enclosures for so-called hazardous locations. As you can see, Type 7 and 8 are for what's known as Class 1 environments. Think flammable gases and vapors you'd find at a refinery. Type 9 is for Class 2 locations, where the danger is from combustible dust, from things like grain, coal, or even flour. These enclosures are literally built like tanks, designed to contain an explosion if one happens inside, preventing it from setting off a much bigger one outside.
And the ratings can get even more specialized from there. A Type 10 box is built specifically to meet the super strict safety rules for mines. And Type 11 is designed for one of the toughest jobs of all, being submerged in corrosive liquids and gases.
Okay, so after all of that, how can you make sense of this whole system without carrying a textbook around? Well, it really just boils down to a simple 3-step process.
Here's your cheat sheet. Step 1. Just figure out the environment. Is it indoors, outdoors, or is it hazardous? That question alone will narrow down your options in a big way. Step 2. Look for those all-important letters. Does it have an R, an S, or an X? Because those modify everything. And finally, step 3, and I can't say this enough, always, always remember that number 1 rule. A higher number is not a universal upgrade, it's just a different tool for a different job.
So now you know the language, and I promise you'll never look at the world quite the same way again. That boring gray box on the side of the supermarket, it's not just a box anymore, it's a Type 3R, and it's telling you a story about rain and snow, but not about blowing dust. The one in that factory is a Type 12, and it's telling you about its daily battle against dirt and drips. The code is literally all